morning, I just want to talk, first of all, at leadership during an economic recession. What do we need to do as the business founders? If you've understood my approach to business and my approach to success when I'm looking at, how an SME should grow and everything, the SME is so connected to the founder, to the leadership team within an SME. And so for me, I like to really, really look at what are some of the things we as leaders first do. It's an inside-out approach. You work on the leader and the founders and your team, and then you start looking at the external aspects and what can then come in. So the first thing to do is definitely raising your basement while smashing through your ceiling. So I'll talk a bit more about what I mean by basement and ceiling, but I just want to say I'm talking about a mental basement that we hit, and we saw it also in Richmond when COVID came. And when we were going through that recession, for me, this is the second recession I'm handling, because when I lived abroad again, I went through one of the biggest dips in that country. And how do you raise your basement as you smash through the ceilings of your mental capacity? The second thing is how you as a leader continues to bear a vision. Knowing that probably you started off with a specific direction, mission, and vision. And we know, and let's be honest, that with the pandemic, that vision could have been altered. And you are the vision bearer. And how do you deal with that alteration in order to thrive? And finally, how we need to avoid something very toxic, something called dismissive positivity. Something that many business owners that I coach come to me and say, Sarah, people are telling me, just be positive. Just move on. Come on, forget about it and whatever. But there are certain things that can actually be, you're trying to be positive, you're trying to, by dismissing things, but it's actually counterproductive for you. And those are some of the things we have to be very, very careful. So I want us to ponder this morning. Imagine you're lost in a forest and you need to rise above it to the bird's eye view. Many of us, and let's just tell the truth here, many of us business owners, and Nyambura and I, whenever we go to the counties, I always ask you, how many days do you take off to just rest? And secondly, how many days do you take off to strategize with your team? How many of you have closed down business for 3 to 5 days? I mean, I spend my day job is going to retreats with many businesses, working on their strategy, sitting with their leaders, talking about concerns, challenges, and design thinking. And that time is very powerful time. But unfortunately, we've been messaged that that is a waste of time. We should be in the shop selling products. We should be online advertising products. Yesterday, Beldina and I were laughing again, talking about how we push. Somebody's waking up every day and posting, pushing clothes, shoes, cakes, tea, whatever it is that you're selling. And nobody is responding, or 2 likes, or people are just, oh, there she goes again, there he goes again. Ndio hao tena, wamefungua, ndio hao tena. Duka iko tu wazi lakini products hazijachange, hakuna kitu mpya, no better customer experience or whatever. So when you are in this forest, I always tell business owners, stop working in the business all the time. To rise above economic recession, you need to work on the business. All of us need to come back and look up at the business. Mental fog is not funny. Specifically, we are supposed to be thinking about decisions. And remember, your landlord is on your case. You need to make a decision about how to pay that rent. Here, you are looking at support systems. As leaders, we really need to understand that we need some form of support system. And it is okay, even for the biggest of us, to just say, I feel weak. I mean, for me, I can even tell my kids, look, today I'm just not myself. I can tell my staff, this week I'm lost in this fog and whatever. You never know. The person that you might think is the weakest inside your business, the person or where you least expect help. And maybe Beldina will also tell us where some of her help came from and some of the cost. Not everything. We cannot say that everything comes from us, the founders. Sometimes we feel weak. And sometimes you don't even just want somebody to even give you answers, but it's just to know you are not the only one. So find a support system. That is the other thing that the vision bearer, the leader, must learn to do. Getting out of an economic recession, I wish I could give you tools that don't also lean on other people, but you do need. Sometimes it's even to look among your businesses, which ones are the small items that you always used to ignore, but right now there are the opportunity for the organization because of the type of cost it is to even get them and the type of revenue they bring in. So SMEs must learn how to reflect and resolve. Get to understand the direction of your industry early enough. Call out all the people who owe you, down to the one you forgot for the last 3 years or whatever. Complete any assignments or jobs and bill. Collect for you to come out of this recession. And guess what? What watakwambia? Ni corona, ni COVID. The next thing is learn to reinvent. What needs to be done in this new norm? Create some cash flow focus for your business and be pragmatic and very, very prudent. Some of us, nasema us because even me in the early days, I know the things that I love doing, but I also know the things that I don't love doing. And some of us, we know how to, maybe I'm running a salon, I'd rather come in, get the oils, get the spa running, get the customers and whatever, but the bookkeeping element, we are trying to do it ourselves. And then we are getting into trouble, either with taxes, with what, I remember 2 months ago, receiving a tax bill, and I had to ask James, my accountant, like, how did we get this much VAT? He said, and how did you get this much revenue? Don't run away from taxes. When you're looking at pushing in a lot of revenue, also look at the taxes. The next thing also to understand is how to focus and redesign your business. Consider outsourcing what can be outsourced. This you don't need to do. Let me give an example of, and I connected with Belgina from a talk that I gave in Sarova once for women. And we were talking about cakes, and I told her I used to do cakes and I ran a cake business elsewhere, story for another day. But one of the things that I learned to do was to outsource big services. I learned how to cake decorate before I learned how to bake. So what did that mean? I actually outsourced the baking to somebody else, and I did the decorating. And you can look at elements of your business and see what is it that I can actually outsource. To dig myself out of this recession, I've just gone to another business recently, and I saw they've taken a huge space with many elements to it. And within 3 weeks, they called me and said, Sarah, we can't sustain. First of all, the renovation. Second of all, the amount of space. Knowing what's happening behind, in front, wapi, you have something going on here and there and there and there. So now they've come to a model where they're actually almost project managers and contracting and subcontracting pieces of their business to others. So they don't worry, they get their money. They get rent and a percentage from each of those businesses. So those are the things that you can look at. Again, toxic positivity is where people tell you, stop being negative. It's normal to feel negative in this kind of a situation. Let somebody know it is not out of this world. If your accountant is feeling negative, if your staff are feeling negative and everything, tell them. It's very normal. We are going through so much. We're trying to resuscitate. We've cut salaries. It is normal to feel negative. Somebody else comes and tells you, never give up, ever give up. There's even songs, never give up, never give up. The better thing to say is, it's okay to give up sometimes, and I've just said earlier, there are some things you have to let go. Will the outcome be ideal if you did? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Another toxic positivity thing is, you should look for the good. Only focus on the good. Forget any of the negative and whatever. Let me tell you, in business, that's a dangerous approach. To only focus on what is going on right and totally ignore. The thing to say to yourself is, it's probably hard to see any good in this right now, but how can we start making sense of it? Both the things that look good and the things that are not going so well. How can we start making sense of it? And picking the lessons as we move forward. You go and tell somebody all your problems, and they finish off with, I'm sure it's not as bad as it seems. And you know it is bad. Bad. It can't get worse. You need need to tell yourself this is difficult. In fact, for me, I always say one of the things that really embedded my success was bosses from hell. Oh, today I love them. If I did not have bosses from hell, I wouldn't be where I am. It was hard. Find different ways. And you also help them to break through things and find different ways. If we all as human beings didn't have boundaries, didn't have hardships or whatever, we would sit in what I call toxic artificial harmony. So it's very, very important to not just say it's not as bad as it seems. Sometimes it is bad. I read on Facebook the other day, and it's really, it cuts me a certain way. Somebody would love. First we start with mom, then dad, then in-laws, then I don't know. I can't just fathom. And this is an entrepreneur who is building this, building that. So I reached out when we were talking, told me again, Sarah, now I'm falling into this and that to cope really bad habits and everything. I couldn't judge. And I couldn't sit there and start saying, it's not as bad as it seems. I had to really look at it. This is hard. It's hard. But all I can say is, can we build up some belief on how we get through it? One of the key things to do after an economic recession is to deleverage before any next downturn. Now I've been working with a lot of SMEs, and I'm telling founders, my friend, do you have a crisis policy or a crisis response strategy? It's either in your strategy or your policy. If you don't, nimewaambia tuende saizi tukakae chini to have strategy. Wachini kukimbia, you are joining this, you're joining that, you're running to listen to what time are you sitting and rising above the forest of your business and looking down at it to really strategize? So less sales, sometimes even 3 months or whatever, debt, financial management becomes very crucial. And then mkae chini mjiambie, how will we manage that? So you can manage to stay afloat by preparing yourself. Establish a budget. And I know it's easier said than done. Unless I'm speaking to a friend of a friend. There's winners and losers in this recession depending on the tools that you use to actually come through for yourself. So the key thing is, if you get double, triple, or quadruple what you were earning the year before, just remain with your lifestyle. The problem is money enhances who we are. So if you are a spender and you get a lot of money, you will spend even more. So as entrepreneurs, we have to change our mentality from money talks to money walks silently. Diversify. Don't just, this is the only thing that I use to get money and that's it, and this is what I know, and so imeenda chini, I fall flat. Diversify. And she will talk about it, I'll also talk about it. And I also want you in your Q&As and chats to tell us where you have diversified incomes. I've seen a lot of businesses shown here. So tell us if you've diversified any income. Let us interact. And diversified investment. So kuna income na kuna investment. So for those of you here also who run businesses that you're helping people to know how to invest, there's great products out there and everything, diversify that. We have invested all the way from hospitality to logistics to my training and consulting space and different spaces, including food. So diversify where you are investing in. And investing doesn't mean utachoka, everything has to give you a return today or whatever, no. And not all of them have no risk or whatever, no. So think about that as well.